What if I told you the United States has nearly collapsed, not once, but multiple times? And what if I told you it appears it might be headed there again, but this time it might not recover? This is Where Did That Come From? And we're digging up the roots of today's chaos in the deepest cracks of the past. In 1861, America stopped being America. 11 states broke away. War broke out, a civil war, and over 600,000 lives were extinguished. Brothers were killing brothers. The nation was deeply divided. Washington, D.C. was nearly captured. The White House? It was fortified like a war zone. Why? Slavery, yes. But beneath that, there was an existential crisis. Most people couldn't come to an agreement on a fundamental idea. What is America? Is it a union of states or a single nation? That sound familiar? Abraham Lincoln feared that the great American experiment might end before its 100-year-old birthday. But somehow, and just barely, we pulled it back together, at least for the moment. Fast forward to 1929. The economy didn't just dip, it face-planted. Banks failed and millions lost everything. Farmers starved, stockbrokers jumped, and the American dream, it was dead on arrival. But here's the part they refused to teach us in school. In 1933, a group of actual American businessmen allegedly plotted a coup. They wanted to overthrow President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and ultimately install a military dictator. Their chosen puppet? Major General Smedley Butler. However, Butler exposed the plan before it could launch, and if he hadn't, America might have turned fascist before Germany ever did. Then, in 1962, along came another test, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Soviets moved nuclear weapons just 90 miles off the U.S. coast, and for 13 days, the world teetered on the edge. One misstep, one misunderstanding, and civilization as we know it could have ceased to exist. And here's how close it got. A Soviet submarine captain almost launched a nuclear torpedo after being depth-charged by the U.S. Navy. He was stopped, just barely, by a single officer who refused to authorize it. One man, one moment, saved the world. But what if he hadn't? Fast forward again to 1974. The word Watergate was everywhere. A sitting U.S. president was spying on his opponents. He was caught lying and trying to cover it all up. It was a devastating period of presidential history. The truth shook the nation's trust in its leaders. Democracy itself was infected from the top. Richard Nixon resigned not out of guilt, but because the country was about to explode. However, if he had stayed, the government might have shattered under the weight of mistrust. It was a dark hour indeed. America was already deeply divided. Vietnam, civil rights, rising crime. If Nixon had fought impeachment, who knows what would have followed? Martial law, riots, a constitutional crisis. And who can forget the day smoke filled the skies of Manhattan, and two of the tallest buildings in the world at that time came crumbling to the ground. 9/11 wasn't just a tragedy. It was the first time since Pearl Harbor that the homeland was under attack. The entire system, air travel, defense, economy, froze in its tracks. The fear that gripped the nation was overwhelming. We didn't know what was next. Everyone was on edge, and no one seemed to know what to believe about it all. Another wave of attacks, nuclear threats, biological warfare. The financial markets were on edge. The military scrambled, and in one terrifying moment, we all saw how fragile modern America really was. So need we go on? Even the 2020s. There was a worldwide pandemic which led to an economy crippled by fear and uncertainty. Riots in our streets due to racial tensions that had not been seen since the civil rights fights of the 1960s. Politics has spun out of control. No matter what news outlet you listen to, you're going to hear a different story. And finally, Our moral compass has imploded upon itself. It is impossible to tell which end is up anymore. Today, the signs are everywhere. Economic inequality is at levels not seen since before the Great Depression. Political polarization has reached civil war levels, literally. Trust in institutions is the lowest in recorded history. Climate disasters are escalating, and tech like AI is evolving faster than we can even understand. We've built the perfect storm, and no one's steering the ship. America isn't just a country. It's an idea. A grand experiment. What happens when people rule themselves. But here's the thing they never tell you about experiments. Most of them fail. And this one is barely 250 years old. Empires fall all the time. Rome, Byzantium, the Ottomans. Why not us? Well, probably because we think we're different. And maybe we are. And maybe we're not. And yet every single time we've been on the brink, someone somewhere pulled us back. The soldiers at Gettysburg, whistleblowers in Washington, one lone officer on a Soviet submarine, everyday citizens refusing to give in to fear. This is our pattern. We fall, we almost break, and somehow we claw our way back. But you got to think. At some point, our inability to learn from our past is going to catch up with us. See, history is a mirror, but it's also a map. It shows us where we've been and warns us where we just might go. And right now, we're standing at another fork in the road. The cracks, they're real. The danger, it's rising. But the question isn't, will America fall? The question is, will we show up again to stop it? And that answer, it's up to all of us. Now, if any of this made you think or feel just a little more awake to what's at stake, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. What moment do you think came closest to ending America? And are we headed there again? Stay curious, stay awake, and thanks for watching.